elections for vice chair, which, knowing that we don't have a full board tonight, I recommend that we move to the April meeting and have a further discussion about the vice chair elections.
So moved.
Oh, seconded then.
We were on ready to go.
Got to be quicker with that button.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I have-
What, playing Jeopardy?
Yeah, really?
Do you see it on your? Do you see a map on your screen?
Map.
Oh, the presentation. Do you see anything?
Oh, I didn't.
Okay, we may just go to the packet. For some reason, this is not working.
No signal. Oh. You know what? I bet you this one was on on presentation.
Yep, that's what
That's
it was.
why. Yeah, because I just switched mine over to presentation and it went to no signal.
Okay, so we will not have a. You'll be able to look at the photo from your staff report tonight. Okay, go for it, John.
Okay. So I'll give a staff report then on this application. And this was submitted to the city for basically continuing repairs to an existing structure. And this is the John Cochran House. And I was very interested to read that he helped bring the first steamboat navigate the Willamette River as far as Eugene in 1856, which is pretty amazing. Anyway, his house, I think, has had a long and colorful history from what I've heard. But the current resident applicant has been doing a significant amount of work on repairing the siding. I know there's porch work. And this grant, I guess I need to speak into the
Renee to the rescue.
Okay. There's been considerable work being done on the house, and the applicant has requested $1,000 from the board, and it's going to be specifically used to continuing to improve the siding around the house and to install soffits and also a roof vent. And the applicant has provided 2 separate bids, and they're a significant amount of money. One's, I think, $28,000, one's $32,000. And so it's a staff recommendation that the board approve the $1,000 grant. And as we mentioned, for this cycle, if the board so was interested, there is the opportunity to provide a larger amount to this particular applicant, or we could carry the money forward.
What is the total amount that we have available for the biennium?
$10,000, $5,000 for each year.
Okay.
And we have used 0 out of this biennium's budget.
Have we done a lot of, or I don't know, are we in discussion? Have we done a lot of advertising and
Not this year.
not this year? I think, if we haven't done that so that people really don't know that it's there, is to maybe save what is not used and use it next year and do much more of a promotional, thing to get the word out that the money's there. You use it, or next year we would lose it, right?
Correct.
So,
I think that when we go to give out our Powers Award later in the year, just looking at what I see when I drive past this house, it's going to be a candidate.
yeah.
The improvement is just huge.
Yeah.
And I feel inclined to encourage that and support it by maybe giving a higher amount.
Can she come back? It's a she, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Can she come back? Can they come back for a different project?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So they
It's not just once to the well.
No, and the board actually just last year made a decision to suspend the requirement that all new applicants wait till January of each year. So that's something that the board to think about next year as well. They can come back. In some instances, in the lose it or use it years, the board has actually allowed an up to amount if there was still money left over. Kind of the first one in,
Right.
got some extra money. So those are all options. But what we can't do tonight is if only $1,000 is given tonight, that's it for this request. They'd have to come back with another request. So.
And the request was specifically for 1,000.
That was how we were advertising. And so I did not
Yes,
find out about the, I just recently last week found out about the opportunity to carry over
I
the money.
wonder if it's
And you
kosher
said-
to increase the amount above what was advertised. I'd like to do it, but I don't want to do it if it's...
This is at the board's discretion. These grants really do come. Not either way, I'm not promoting, but in other times, and this may not be the case, the other times the board has, made a finding because of a particularly ambitious project or end of the year or additional money or for various reasons, the board can do it. The board doesn't have to either. So.
And you said there was a couple others that
There's a
might
couple
be
in the
coming down
pipeline
the road?
that are talking.
And are those would those be $1,000?
Well, right now we have
too?
$5,000, so we generally
Right.
have been at the $1,000 grant
Right.
level. When the grant program started, it was actually just a match, and so that kind of was all over the place, and it could be up to $3,000. When we had our budget severely limited, that's when it went down to the $1,000. But it's really more of a board policy. It's not it's not tied to the money in any way.
I think that it should remain 1,000, and the opportunity. The point is not so much the money; it's the relationship that's established because of the money to be involved in the project. And this property owner is looks like they're going to be doing a lot of extensive work that they're obviously now educated on the availability of the money, and they can come back for other parts of their project.
Mm-hmm. All right. Did you have anything more you wanted to add?
No.
You could make that a motion.
So I guess I motion to approve the, let's see where to go, PG 16-01 with the conditions as staff has noted in the staff report.
Second.
We'll do it all in favor.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right.
So we're ready to move.
Yep. So you want to do discussion items?
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
You're going to do the goal
Yeah.
update.
So I wanted to provide just a quick goal update. There are numerous items on the list. First one, I wanted to, we started more of a formal meeting, but I'd like, John, if you want to just provide a little introduction to who you are and welcome
Yeah.
yourself to the board.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a great opportunity to have this opportunity to come before you tonight and just let you know that I've, because of my gray hair, I've been a planner for a long time in the state of Oregon. And I originally got interested in history, archaeology when I went, the first time I went to college, University of Oregon, and got an anthropology degree, and then had an opportunity to go to work for the U.S. Forest Service for 8 years, both as an archaeologist and a cultural resource specialist. So we worked not only with prehistoric resources, but also many historic resources that were in the forest as well. And then after that time, I went back to school and got a graduate degree in planning. And then the opportunity for employment at that time was pretty bleak in the early 80s. And I was able to get a position down with the city of Roseburg. And they have quite an active historic preservation program. And while I was there, I worked closely with they had a historic review committee on basically the same kind of tasks that this board does. And I had a chance to work for them for a number of years. And then as I went into other things, consulting work, I still maintained a true interest in history and preservation itself. And so even though I've had many different roles as a planner and even worked for a time as a land developer, I always came back to history was one of my real interests. And when this opportunity came here to work for Oregon City, I really jumped at it, not only because I get to work with great staff, but also I didn't really know, I guess, having lived in the Portland area most of my adult life, how much history you have in this community. I mean, if you go back to the beginning, this is where it all began, and it's truly amazing to me. And so far, it's been a great opportunity. I've only been on the city for a month, but just talking to property owners, homeowners, different people, there seems to be a high-level awareness that this is a historic community and people take pride in it. And so my time here, I hope to be able to work again with Christine. I told her that she can't go anywhere. I need her. She has the history, but I hope together that we can work, be the staff that you need, but also work with the community. And I would like to see the opportunity where we can get the word out more, for these historic grants or other programs, and continue to establish and build the relationships that the city has already with the State Historic Preservation Office and other entities, so that this program can continue being viable into the future. So
Cool.
That's my introduction for you.
All right. Well, I have an update on our Certified Local Government Grant. Last time I spoke with you, we talked about kind of two projects. One, working with the Clackamas County Historical Society on helping to pay for presenters and pay for kind of pamphlets and leaflets related to their recent exhibit about the built environment and preservation. And that's moving forward. We turned in the grant. We should be receiving our final approvals and kind of grant agreements from SHPO in a couple of weeks. But right now I'm already working with Claire Blaylock, and there is a May presentation. I think it's a DIY window presentation in May. So we're going to glom onto that as our Preservation Month activity. And that's going to be in, because we're paying for a lot of the work, CCHS is going to make sure that the Oregon City's logo and Historic Review Board is proudly mentioned on all the notices that go out for these upcoming speaker series that they'll be doing. Some of the speakers are coming from the Architectural Heritage Center up in Portland, so we're either we'll be paying their honorariums to come down, and then there's going to be one. I believe she's working on kind of more of a Clackamas County centric one, so it's going to be a little bit more than an honorarium because that person's going to have to put together a little bit more of a new presentation. There is also with that is a graphic designer to help pay for the Preservation 101 pamphlet that we'll be able to give out from Clackamas County Historical Society. We'll learn more about that, but what I've learned from our finance department is for the most part, Oregon City is just going to pay those invoices directly and then work with CCHS on getting bids in accordance with our city requirements for the graphic designer. The other two parts of the CLG grant was the paying of the new homeowners packet that we actually helped create last fall. So that's printing and mailing for all 500 odd property owners are going to get that in the mail. So it'll be that. If you remember, it's kind of an 11 by 17 folded. There'll be a flyer for the preservation grant program, some inserts. So imagine they'll probably get a manila envelope with 10, 15 sheets of paper about kind of welcoming and being a historic owner. We do have information that whenever the tax assessor changes mailing information on historic homes, 3 to 4 months later, we get information from GIS. So the idea is what John will be able to do is when you get that email from, here are the X properties that changed over, he can mail those out again as we keep going. So now that we have that information, we have a new packet. We used to do that a while back when we had an older packet, and we kind of have not done it for a couple of years, and now we kind of have this new packet. We can do that. So all new owners, probably a couple of months after they move in, will get their welcome wagon packet. And the third piece that went, if you recall, if there was additional money, received direction from this board to look at additional work for Ermitinger or for the library potentially. And I worked with Scott Archer and Denise Kai, and one of the last projects for the Ermitinger house is the wallpaper, historically appropriate wallpaper. Did not fall into the last budget for the rehab, and so it was one of the last projects to be done. And funny enough, the historically appropriate backing to put on the existing walls is in itself $5,000. And so this grant is going to help pay for some of that. And that's eligible for SHPO. So we help pay for the backing of the wallpaper when it comes out.
We won't be able to see it.
We'll be able to see it, but
we'll know
we
it's
pay
there.
for it.
I have a question about
Sure.
the mailing of the packets. 3 to 4 months seems very latent.
It's because that's when we get the tax assessor data.
Sure, but there might be commercially available tools. Like, imagine you can probably even just draw a radius on Zillow and say, send me a notification anytime a property changes hands. Or I don't know.
A couple of years ago, it was way more complicated, and we tried to be more savvy, and it didn't work, and we kind of relied back on the tax assessor data because we got the real information. But we have much. It's 2016 and not 2012, so that's a good idea to revisit to see. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we probably will still do it, the actual real one, just because I don't know. I need to learn. I think John and I would need to learn more about how to make sure that we have our kind of.
Well, certainly if one slips through the cracks,
yeah,
and then it shows up on the assessor data but didn't show up in your other system, then that's when you send it. But I'm just wondering that part of, I think, if I'm understanding correctly, where we struggled with, especially new homeowners that are ambitious, are coming in and wanting to start right away with something, that 3 to 4 months is a long time to start that conversation. If they're looking to jump in and get permits and do all kinds of crazy things right away.
Yeah, I don't disagree. So I'd love to learn more about ways to get that information. I think previously it was too hard.
What's the schedule on the printing?
We will find out. We can't do it until we receive the okay from SHPO that our grant is approved. So I'm thinking late April, probably.
Okay.
Early May.
And you sent out the proof copies a few months ago. Is that still the best material available, or
nothing has changed since this fall?
Okay. We have a couple of designated properties for sale right now.
Oh, feel free to. John can send you that PDF and just say it's a draft. And we've actually done that over the counter and just said it's not pretty, but it has all the information you need.
Yeah. Okay. Good. We'd like to be able to pass that along to the.
Yeah. It right now it just prints out at 8.5 by 11 stapled. Those are probably the two big information. We aren't going to be doing the photo contest this year, so I think the Preservation Month will be working with the Clackamas County Historical Society on their program and their presenter, as well as doing the May proclamation and the award. So going back to the Ruth Powers Preservation Award, we'll be probably moving forward for nominations in early April. To be ready for oftentimes we do it the second May meeting in city commission meeting. So usually the first city commission meeting is the proclamation, and the second May city commission is the award. So in my head I don't have that, but whatever the third Wednesday of May will be the most likely the award.
Okay.
Yeah,
Done with
that's all I have.
discussion.
Was there anything more on the goals update, or that was the goals update?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a couple more items, and I'm still working with John on taking those over. Ideally, the de-designating the landmarks is one of them, and that's something John will be working on. But he needs a month or two to get this position under his belt.
And also learn the technology in
Yeah.
this room.
Also, and John works mornings, so he's a 0.5 FTE. So if you want to ever get a hold of John directly, mornings are the best time to get a hold of him.
Communications.
Does anybody have anything for the good of the order?
For the good of the order, you're the legacy project person now. And next week we have the meeting down at the
We do.
Abernethy Center.
No,
It's going to be very exciting. March 30th, the design team's in town. We have an open house styled interactive event. They're very chosen specific words. Starting from 3 to 8 p.m. So anytime in that period, come over to the Abernethy Center. They'll kind of snake you through different ways of kind of asking you. They're really good at, the design team's really good at finding different ways of kind of asking the same question in a good way, which is, how do you, at the end of the day, how do you want this Riverwalk to feel? How do you want to use this Riverwalk? How should it be connected with Oregon City? How do we, you'll have some questions are going to be very specific. Some are going to be some kind of, I call it, they have a thing called it's either a visual preference survey / mood board is some of the things we'll be looking at about how, is this, how do you do passive enjoyment on the Riverwalk? How do you create a spectacular experience? How do you create a spiritual experience? How do you create a meditative experience? How do you create a real experience? How do all members of your family enjoy this place? So they'll be asking the public a lot of those questions. And with those answers, I think that feeds back into their design process. This is one of many future public events. Probably our next big one will be at the First City Festival, on or around the First City Festival. And we'll have another one in the fall. But this first one is definitely important to set the tone. If you are not able to make the meeting at the Abernethy Center, we have right now an online forum that you can go on our website and click on the online forum. And then there will be a follow-up survey after the meeting that will take a lot of the same questions that were at the meeting.
I read
go ahead.
I read the Portland Business Journal last week. Is that proposal real, or is somebody just dreaming? Or
I think at this point right now, we are all in the place where we're looking at all opportunities, and then we'll review kind of any proposal, both public and with the property owner, private, through the lens of what meets 4 core values, affordability, all those different questions. So we're at the beginning phase of the Riverwalk right now.
I'm
What
sorry.
What I'm talking about was a proposal to include a whitewater part in
I heard something.
there. Yeah, you heard it on the radio this morning.
Yeah, no,
Well,
it's
actually that was brought up at the OCBA luncheon.
yeah,
that
no,
was mentioned.
it's definitely been around. It's had definitely a lot of studies. Like a lot of different uses that are going to be proposed on and near the Riverwalk. We're at the very beginning parts of this, so I think the idea is to find out from the public the kind of the sensory understanding of how you see the Riverwalk, and then there'll be different lenses and different kind of what's my word? Just different ways that any proposal will move kind of forward through in the process.
And Colette sent out a thing, if anybody wants to volunteer, they have 4 different things, activities that they need help with,
For the-
checking.
Yeah.
For the Friends of the Falls.
Yeah, so if you're involved with
Rediscover the
Champion
Falls.
or Rediscover the Falls
Yeah.
Friends Group, there's opportunities to volunteer. And we are bringing out everybody because right now, I know you can't count on Facebook interest, but right now there are over 1,300 people that are interested in the Facebook
Wow.
invite. So this is going to be a very busy and well-attended event. And so we need a lot of volunteers to help move people through so they have a really good, enriching experience. And they felt that they came here, especially if they drove from another city to come to Oregon City, they feel that they had a really meaningful experience. So we're reaching out to as many volunteers, especially from Oregon City, that can help.
I'll definitely be there.
Should I announce it at Chamber?
Absolutely.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Mhm.
'Cause I signed up for my one little stint. So
Yeah.
Any further discussion, communication? I guess we'll move to adjournment.
You've got the
I'm not very ceremonious.
no.